welcome back. Welcome back. If you happen to find yourself an AuthorTube today, then my name is Ella, and this is my channel where I laugh a lot, talk about writing, and edit badly, and apparently say my intro out of order. Okay, this is a burrito blanket, and this is me whenever someone asks how NaNoWriMo is going. Just kidding, I'm only 1,000 words behind, so... And also, coincidentally, that is what I'm here to talk about today. If you are writing anything for NaNoWriMo, or writing anything right now, tell me down below. And I love hearing about people's stories. If you need to rant about how terribly or well NaNoWriMo is going, I will listen. So NaNoWriMo stands for National Novel Writing Month, right? Yes, that makes sense. And it, basically, you make a goal. The most common one is 50,000 words, and you try and write a novel in 30 days. And that is what I have been doing. I think I'm currently at 35,000 words, which is not bad at all. And it's actually been going pretty well, and I will be talking about that at the end of this video. So this is going to be a little story time about my first time doing NaNoWriMo when I was a wee freshman. And it was fine. First I'm going to talk about my process. Or how I found out, basically, what I did and why it went terribly wrong. Should I can I do a clickbait to this video? NaNoWriMo made me go insane. No, because every writer just does that, and it's not clickbait, it's true. Oh, okay. I'll think of a title while we're here. It's good. So how I found out was basically because I followed a bunch of Instagram accounts, and they were all talking about this thing called NaNoWriMo, which I had no idea how to pronounce, so being the curious little 14-year-old I was, I looked it up. And what did I find? I found National Novel Writing Month. So I was actually currently in the process of writing a novel, but I was getting to a point when I was burnt out. So I was like, instead of fixing that, I'm just going to start a brand new one. Unfortunately, the day that I found out what NaNoWriMo was October 30th. And I decided to do it. I was like, I'm terribly bored of the novel that I'm writing now. It is not going anywhere. Let's change everything up. So I went from writing YA contemporary to writing a adult horror novel, essentially. It wasn't that scary. I don't know what the genre was. I'm just going to call it horror because it's what it fits into most. I had no idea what to write about the whole time, though. The whole day on Halloween and November 1st. No, it was November 1st. It was the first day of NaNoWriMo. And I was like, what should I write about? I have no idea what to write about. I'm underprepared. And everyone was like, Ella, we literally don't know. And I was like, okay, that's literally not helpful. Sorry, my page closed. But eventually, I stumbled upon a first line generator, and I used it. And I think it was, she waited until her husband was out of the room. That is the first line of my novel. Yes, it does not have a name, so I will be referring to it as the novel. Or I guess it did have a name that I was considering called Crimson, but I didn't like it. And I still don't like it, so I'm not going to use it now. And I wrote it, and basically, I don't know how, probably because I'm busy, and I just got left behind. I eventually got about 10,000 words behind. So I ended the month with 40,000 words. And I decided that that was a very good thing for my first year of NaNoWriMo, which I still think that is a very good thing for my first year of NaNoWriMo. And actually, I think I eventually did get it either to high 40s or 50,000. After NaNoWriMo, I continued for the first 2 weeks of December to write it. Then I stopped writing that and the novel I was working on before. I just stopped working on both of them. And I understand why for both of them. Because one of them, it literally had nowhere else to go. Like, I wrote myself into a hole, and I was too lazy to write myself out because I knew that would require a lot of work. And the other one was because I made this book into 3 parts. Not a trilogy. No. But it was a 3-part book, you know. Part 1, Part 2, Part 3. Books do that. My first part was 50,000 words. And that, in the outline that I made the outline after I started writing, was the shortest part. So we were looking at over 150,000 words for a horror novel? That's absolutely ridiculous. So I wrote the first part, which could have been like a little novella. It could be like a series of novellas. That'd be fun, but I don't. Also, when I reread this this year, I decided that I did not know what I was doing, and it completely showed. I'm still proud of myself for writing it. I'm very, very proud of it. But now that that part's over, you're like, wow, this is such an interesting story time, Ella. I'm going to be telling you just a little bit about the plot of my book, just for funsies. So it follows this girl, this 25-year-old girl named Sierra. Nope. Her name's Hannah. Sierra is the name of her friend. Yes, Sierra. And it starts the book with Hannah and Sierra in a room in Sierra's house. And you find out that Sierra is pregnant. And Hannah is like, oh yay, I'm so excited for you. They became friends when they were roommates at a boarding school their freshman year of high school, and we've stayed friends ever since. They live in Ohio now, and they used to live in Seattle. They went to school in Seattle. And you might think those locations are really random. That's because they are, and basically this character was meant to be the backstory of a mother and a character of the novel that I was writing before. And she lived in Seattle because I picked a random location out of a hat. So she went to school in Seattle and then moved to Ohio because she hated Seattle. She didn't really have a reason to hate Seattle. I should mention that she was, I wrote her to be selectively mute, which I think was good, but you could tell that I knew nothing of the subject, and it was kind of insensitively written. So I am very sorry about that. If I were to ever write a selectively mute character again, make sure to do my research and make sure that it was not completely offensive. I don't think it was completely offensive, but it was definitely poorly written. So, and I'm missing the whole plot. Sierra is like, will you come in a road trip with me to Seattle to tell my parents? It'll be fun. It'll be like a little week-long thing. And Hannah is like, yeah. So she basically goes. She is a journalist, but she doesn't really have that good of a job. Like, her office is this old closet, and it's really small. So she goes to her boss, and her boss is like, if you, write me a really good, journal thing. I don't know anything about journalism. And this is probably totally inaccurate. I don't know anything about it. But she works for, a newspaper. And their boss is like, if you do this thing, if you write a journal essay thing while you're on the road and it's really good, then you'll get promoted. And he's like, okay, sick. So she goes with Sierra, and also Sierra's neighbor Dustin, and Dustin's dog Rufus, which I only added because I wanted to add a corgi to my story, and Sierra's sister Shelby. My favorite thing is the relationship between Sierra and Shelby because neither of them really had the best experience in school, and you kind of see how that reflects. Sierra's super happy all the time, and Shelby's the complete opposite. She's super negative. And Sierra's like, you should be more positive, and Shelby's like, the world's not that good, so you get to see their conflict and them eventually like deciding that they need to both find a middle ground. And I think that was a really cool part of the story. I also just think that it's like one of the only redeeming qualities. So they go on this road trip, and then eventually, like, after the road trip, a bunch of stuff happens while they're there, but it's not interesting to the plot. And Sierra is like, basically, I'm not actually, this isn't a road trip. I'm basically kidnapping you. She doesn't say that, though. She's like, I'm not going back to Ohio because I'm running away from my husband. Her husband's, like, not abusive or anything. He's just not that good of a guy. And Sierra was, like, very, like, desperate to get married almost. So she just kind of married the first guy who was kind of into her. And she's like, now I'm just gonna run away because that's a total logical thing to do. Like, again, this was very not thought out. You can tell from my lack of planning. And so they all basically just decide to leave their lives in Ohio behind, which I understand for Sierra, obviously, and Hannah, because Hannah doesn't really like her job and she doesn't think that she'll get the promotion. But, like, Dustin lives in a really nice house and he's married and has a baby. And Shelby, I believe, was also in a serious relationship and owned a cafe. So they both had lives there, but they just decided to abandon that to come on this road trip. And then the rest of it turns into a cult novel. And the cult, yes, it does come out of nowhere. And it's kind of hinted at part 2. Like, they move into a town that they suspect, like, everyone in there is, like, a cult. And then part 3 is when they're like, yes, this is a cult. And they are initiating Dustin, the neighbor. And they're like, well, we have to save him. Why? There's, like, no bonding. They met, like, 3 weeks ago. And that's basically the whole story. I believe one of them dies at the end. No, it has to be longer than 3 weeks, because at the end, it had to be, like, at least, like, 8 months. Because at the end, I remember Sierra gives birth, and I believe that she also dies at the end. So that's my story. Doesn't that sound interesting? Wouldn't you read that? It is kind of fun to read back, but if you want like a video of me talking about all my old writings and novels, there's some real gems in there, so I'd be happy to talk about them. Now I'm going to move into a third segment of this video, which is basically what I'm changing about my NaNoWriMo this year. First of all, I knew about it in October, and I actually wasn't going to do it until about the last week of October, where I decided that I have not really been writing a ton, nothing outside of school. So I needed to get back into it. And I did plan, I extensively planned out my characters. In this book, we have, these are all character, outlines. This is a checklist. And I really do think I have a better sense of the characters. My problem is where the plot comes in. This book doesn't have a plot. But that's kind of the story it is. This story was originally going to be a horror book. I don't want to say too much about it because I might make a separate video about it eventually. But now it's more like a literary fiction. I completely switched the genre between my planning and my execution. Well, my previous story, Crimson, is what I'm calling it, it did have a defined plot, and it was more clearly a horror book from the last, half of the book, at least. The first half was just, them literally talking about baby names in a car. And also, I'm actually on time this year, which is very nice. I'm 1,000 words behind, but I was actually 5,000 words behind for the longest time, and I've been making up for that by writing 3,000 words a day most nights. And it's been stressful but fun at the same time. Yeah, that's basically what I'm doing this year. throughout all my endeavors last year, I can't really say that I took away a big lesson. Like, I was never once planning to publish it or do anything with it. It was more for practice and fun, and honestly, the one I'm writing right now is too. Like, I don't really think I'm going to do anything with it now. Because I think the idea that I have is too advanced for me to write now, so I just want to get an idea of it. It's something I really wanted to write just for me, and maybe in like 5 years I'll revisit it. What was my original point saying that? So yeah, there's no like big takeaway besides like plan out your characters and like make your story a realistic length instead of 150,000 words. That's insane. This one is gonna be pretty short, like 60 or 70,000 words. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'll let you know how it goes. Again, I hope you have a nice day. Don't stress out too much. Eat a cookie. And yeah, bye.